There's one. There's fish. Nice. That's on a Booby Fly. There's fish of the day. Just starting to see some surface activity from the trout rising. Nice fish. Get this one in the boat. Pretty rainbow. So I'm fishing a small mountain pond today. It's very, very weedy pond. It's got a little bit of a deep hole out here in the middle where there's not much weeds, but mostly very weedy all around the edges. And the first fly I'm starting with here is called a Booby Fly. It's a really great fly for fishing over these weed beds. Ooh, just missed him. It's hard to see him because of the dark. This of the morning. Ooh, just missed. There we go. Alright, beautiful little rainbow. And these Booby Flies, it's kind of like a woolly bugger, but it's got built-in flotation. So you fish it on a sinking line like I'm fishing it here. This is a 5-weight. This is a full sink type 4, so it gets down there pretty fast. Because it's still summer, you know, end of summer, late summer, early fall. And you can see on that Booby Fly there near the mouth, you can see it's got a little bit of foam built into it. So you fish that full sink down there, and that lets that Booby Fly float up above the weed beds and keeps it out of the weeds, and so you can target those trout feeding above those weed beds. Alright, beautiful little rainbow, first fish of the day. Hopefully we get a bunch more. Let's get going. See you later, bud. You can see how the Booby Fly, it floats on the surface. It's actually this line that draws it down, that full sink line. Otherwise it wants to float on the top. So it's a really cool fly. So when it's underwater, it's going to have this pulsing action of that marabou as you twitch it along the tops of those weed beds. Okay, let's get another one on the Booby Fly. So like I said, today I'm using a 5-weight full sink line. Boobies are really designed to be fished with full sink lines. You can fish them on floating lines, but what you have to do is put a sink tip on it, so like a mow tip. Basically, it's just a little sinking section of line that you can attach to the end of your floating line, and that will allow you to fish these Booby Flies really effectively. They work great when they're feeding deep over the weed beds. You can just kind of let it sink slowly over the weed beds and then bring it back to you. Or you can slow troll like I'm doing today. And you can vary up your speeds to change how deep your fly is fishing. Every once in a while, just give it a little pop, and that might trigger a strike. There he is. Got him. Feels like a decent one. On these Booby Flies, they tend to come up and smack it and then turn back around and come for it again. This is a barbless fishery, so I'm going to use the boat to keep pressure on them while I bring it in. Usually the fly line helps keep the pressure on it too, but always good to keep that hook buried in there best you can. They come in lots of different colors. I prefer the stimulator colors, like the bright pinks and oranges, reds, but they also have natural colors and some that even imitate dragonflies, larvae, dragonfly nymphs and such. You get the olive with the black head on it. Decent fish. Okay, let's see if we can get this guy to the net. Nice little rainbow. Got him. Alright, get that guy going. Yeah. Okay, so let's switch up to a woolly bugger. So woolly buggers are really popular. There's lots of variations of woolly bugger. You can get some with bead heads. You can get some with little propellers on the front. There's so many different types. And they're a very large profile fly that's meant to imitate a leech or a leech pattern. And they're a really good fly on a sinking line. And they just have a really buggy look about them. Now, because I'm fishing above weed beds, I'm not going to go with the bead head style because I don't want the fly diving down into the weeds and getting snagged up on the weeds. So I'm going to go with a unweighted woolly bugger in olive. And I'm just going to let the weight of the fly line carry it down there for me and not have extra weight with an added bead head or anything like that. So I'm going to fish this very similar to the Booby Fly, except I got to be a little bit more wary about getting up on top of the weed beds because that fly isn't floating up any longer. It's going to be more level with my line. It's more likely to snag up on the bottom or on a weed. And so I'm going to try and hold off to the edge of those drop-offs and have that woolly bugger working right above the weed bed or just off to the side of it. But I will still, slow troll is sort of my preferred method for this. I don't like to have, there's a bite. I like to have a little bit of movement on it, either stripping and retrieving or slow trolling, because they can really deeply inhale these woolly bugger and booby flies. They'll just slurp them down so deep. Oh, there's fish. There he is. Got him. Ooh, nice one. A good fish. That is the one thing about woolly buggers, is because the larger profile, it does tend to catch a little bit larger fish. We'll get this guy in the boat, it'd be nice. Really nice fish. Definitely the big one of the day. Got him up right on the edge of these weed beds. Beautiful fish. Picture perfect rainbow. Oh, she's chunky. Yeah, yeah. Man, that thing is chunkster. Chunkster. There you go. Look at the size of that guy. That guy is thick. Got a big woolly bugger hanging out of his mouth. Nice. There you go. Look at the size of that guy. Chunkster. Great fish on the woolly bugger. Gorgeous. See you later, fatty. Now we're gonna switch up the theme again here, and we're gonna go with what's called a hummer fly or a proper bugger. It has a little spinning prop on the front of the fly. Now, a lot of purists would probably not consider this to be a fly, but I'm not a purist. I'm just out here to catch fish and enjoy my time on the water. But this one has a little bit smaller of a marabou tail, so I was getting a lot of short strikes on that other one, so I'm hoping the added action of this prop plus the little bit shorter profile overall of this fly will result in a few less missed hookup opportunities here. Let's pinch the barb since I am doing catch and release. Proper buggers have a bead head, and I'm on a full sink line, so it's a little bit more likely to snag up. A better alternative if you're going to fish a bead head bugger or a proper bugger is to use a floating line, and you'll have your 7-8 foot leader. You can let that thing swing right down on top of the weed bed without really having to worry about it snagging up, and your floating line will help keep it at that proper depth. There we go, there's fish. Down right on the edge of this lily pads, so it drops off like from the lily pad straight down to like 10-13 feet. It seems like I was getting lots of strikes there, but they're mostly short strikes. If I can get them away from there. I thought maybe with a shorter profile fly on that proper fly, I might not have as many short strikes, but it seems to be the case. This guy's staying down and fighting dirty. Ooh. Ooh, that's a big fish. Bigger than I thought it'd be, based on the fight. Let's see if we can get him. Whoa! That is a beast! Holy smokes! I was not anticipating that kind of fish out of here, out of this tiny little pond. That is crazy. That is a tank. Look at the size of this fish, guys. He inhaled that fly. It's not in the gills though. Look, it's in the top of the mouth. But that is a tank. Look at the size of that fish, guys. That thing is a beast. Just such a tank. That's awesome. On those proper flies, it's a great catch. There's a lot of big fish stacked along these lily pads out here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the top and use the wind to my advantage. Just getting a ton of short strikes on these woolly buggers and proper buggers. So I think I'm going to switch up to my blob flies, and these blob flies I just have a ton of success with. They seem to come back and hit them and chew on them a little bit more than other flies, so I'm hoping that'll give me a little bit higher conversion rate on my bite to hookup ratio, since it's been pretty minimal this morning. They've been short striking quite a bit this morning. So just got this little bright colored blob. I don't know what it is about this fly that they love so much, but they will chew on it. I use a very specific material when tying these up myself, and I make them with a tungsten bead head, so I'm not going to be letting this go down very deep. I'm just going to drift really slowly and in the wind and see if I can't get some fish to chew on this thing and take it. So since this blob fly has a tungsten bead in it, it's going to sink pretty fast. So I'm actually going to stick out to a little bit deeper water. It's basically almost the inverse of the Booby Fly. It's got a lot of weight, but a lot of color to it. So I'm going to just slow drift this over deep water. Just kind of let the wind push me along here at about a ½ mile an hour. And hopefully you can pull out another big trout. I've been finding some big trout right on the edge of this lily pads where it drops off, so I'm just gonna keep focusing on that area, working anywhere from 10 to 20 feet of water. And on a full sink with that blob fly, it should get down there mid-water column. If I slow up, it'll get even deeper, but I think with these 10-15 mile an hour winds, it's going to be a little bit challenging to stay slower. Ooh, there's a bite. There it is on the blob. Got him. Just drifting in the wind. Right along the lily pads. Gotta get him away from that lily pads. He's running for it. Get away from those lily pads. The wind is making it really hard to fish in here. Well, we gotta make this one my last fish, but they do love these blobs. Pretty fish. I generally prefer to make my blob flies in those bright stimulator type colors. Really brightly colored rainbow here. Healthy looking fish. There he goes, right into the net. Thank you, buddy. Awesome. He is caught on the blob. Pretty little rainbow. Well, I had a really fun morning out here catching trout on blobs, buggers, and boobies. If you guys have any questions about the gear I'm using, just let me know in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. And otherwise, I'll see you next time out on the water. And just remember, fish smarter, not harder. Bye, guys.